Welcome to Thriving in Multifamily, a visionary podcast. I am your host, Lissi Daniels, and this podcast is brought to you by Multifamily Media Network. I am excited today to have Travis Allen join me on this episode of Taking Your Vision to Reality. Not only has Travis just grown within the industry, but he has become one of a great friend to myself. And we are like, I always joke with you, Travis. Isn't that always I say, you're my peanut butter to my jelly?
Yes.
As far as creating and inspiration and just being an overall good person and a friend. So I would like to welcome him to my podcast and let him share a little bit about his story from where he started and where he's at now, from some successes to some triumphs. Take it away, Travis.
Yeah. Awesome. Hey, thanks for having me. It's exciting to be doing this with you today and kind of being part of what you're doing these days. So kudos to you
Yes.
to being in this position. Um, as Lacey said, I'm Travis Allen. I'm the Director of Training and Education for the Apartment Association of Greater Dallas. Been in the industry for 12 years. And just to give you a little bit of background, I've bounced around a lot in different industries. What got me into multifamily, though, was 12 years ago whenever I moved to Dallas. It was just on a whim. I'm from East Texas, so more opportunities, more things to do in Dallas. Um, to kind of get started waiting tables. Waiting tables introduced me to people. One of my good friends, who is also a surfer, his partner was actually an assistant manager at a property in Kessler Park. They needed a leasing professional, and we're like, hey, we think you'd be good. You're good at sales, so why don't you try it out? So I went, I did it, I enjoyed it. This was also it was introduction into multifamily, but it was also a setback as well. So it's interesting. I did really well with no knowledge of the industry whatsoever. My only background really is sales. I did for a short period of time worked doing selling timeshares. So I got to do the timeshare presentations. Um, didn't sell anything because people are coming out for a free weekend and not expecting to drop $1,500. So, but it was a good experience and it was a great opportunity to learn sales skills. So I was able to kind of carry that over, and I did really well. But on my third day, the assistant and the property manager left, and I was alone. Well, I got shocked. While everything was perfect, they said I did really well. The shop wasn't by a shop or anything else like that. I think it was a regional manager or VP or somebody who actually was shopping me, because they knew that I was doing a temp to perm there. Lo and behold, I was too professional, so they didn't want me. I think, and this is one of those things where you don't really talk about the right fit, but they had an idea of the person that they wanted in the position, and I was too professional for that. It's terrible to say, but they really did want somebody a little bit more flamboyant in the position, more like their assistant manager because of the area. So they declined to offer me a position, but I went back to the staffing company that they were utilizing, and they reassigned me to a property in Las Colinas. Luckily, the staff there was great. I learned a lot. Uh, I got in good basically with the property manager there, who's a good friend now. And I've known her since the beginning. Lana Hill, wonderful woman, love her. And I was ready to interview and become permanent there, but she's like, no, no, no. She kind of brushed it off, and I was like, okay, dude, I'm doing well, so why aren't you wanting to hire me? And then finally she called me. She said, hey, you have an interview today with another company. I'm actually leaving this company and going to Berkshire. And there you go. I followed her, went with her to the new company, to that new property, and worked my way up from leasing to senior leasing to assistant and property manager. Um, and then got introduced into the association through my good friend and mentor, Bradley, who got me volunteering. All it took was 2 meetings and 2 volunteer sessions doing some outreach. And the job opportunity came up for me to enter into the association world as the manager of education programs. And then I worked my way up, and here I am today. So that's a little
Wow.
bit of my background story, how I got into the industry.
I love it. It's
It
so
was kind of,
inspiring.
I loved into it. Yeah. It wasn't one of those like I was always wanting to be in it. I thought about going back to school and stuff, but I kind of landed in it. It's one of those industries that you get into and you kind of stay in it because there's a lot of opportunity for you. Whether
Yeah.
you want to stay in a certain role on site, whether you want to move out into marketing or training, whatever the fact may be, My only goal whenever I very first started, I remember my interview and I looked at the trainer and I was like, I'm taking your job. They're like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I'm like, I'm taking her job. So I always knew that that's what I wanted to do, was to be in training. That's all my background was, always training and development is what I did usually in all my positions.
Oh my gosh, I
So
love
here I
that
am.
story. It's so inspiring. But I love how you said, I'm taking your job. Because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, at the end of the day, that's like that motivation for yourself, but that drive, that inner self drive to get
Hmm.
to being where you want to be. But shout out to Lana and shout out to Bradley as the pivotal people that you made meaningful connections with that's helped you, with your career growth. And I think that's so amazing. Travis, I always admire how you are so creative in the sense of what you're currently doing within your role as the director of education, but your passion for training and development in itself is, truly phenomenal. What are some challenges that you think people face when trying to figure out their career path or just getting to that success level?
So sounds totally cheesy and like motivational book, whatever, but
I'm all
it's
for it.
yourself. Um, yeah. I kind of dwindle it down to, even in my classes talking about goal setting or anything like that, would be, you have your two main barriers within yourself are going to be, one, your ego. Is it your pride that's keeping you from taking that next step, from taking a chance and stepping out? Do you not want to look, you not want to look crazy, or not want to lose, or you don't want people to look at you any differently? So that's your pride, that's your ego. The second is going to be excuses. So you step back, it's like, is this really a roadblock that you can't overcome, or is this something that you're clinging to as an excuse? And the only way to either overcome either one of them is like, oh, I can't do that because, look at it, look at what that because is. And is it because like true, like you definitely can't do it? Like, I'm going to lose 80 pounds tomorrow. Obviously, I can't do that. But what do I need to do? I need to pull that back. But whatever you're giving yourself, is it an excuse? Is it because of your ego? What's really holding you back? And once you can kind of define that, you can overcome it, because you see, this isn't a true obstacle that's in my way. It's me that's in my own way.
Oh, wow. I
So,
love how you like really pinpoint on that. Your ego and your pride gets into your own way. And I want to kind of
mhm,
sit there for a second because I think that's something that we all worry about is what people think, right? Or how we're going to
mhm,
navigate things and not having that self inner belief. And for you to like really talk about that, that could be a challenge. That could be something that can really get in the way of someone that can really conquer whatever they're trying to work towards within their goals. So yeah, I like that. How do you stay like motivated, Travis? What's like one of those things like that you're like, okay, I'm going to get up every morning and this is what I'm trying to accomplish, or am I still trying to accomplish more in life?
writing things down, and coffee. So, so
I can agree with your coffee.
so yeah, that's the big one, especially mid afternoon. You need that coffee. But I think writing everything down, and I'm old school, so I have to have an agenda. If that for a person is utilizing Outlook, using an app, whatever it may be, kudos to you. I still have to write it down. If I don't, I'm going to forget it. Um, so it's getting your to do list, planning dates, going ahead and getting you a calendar and putting, I'm going to be doing this on this day, and sticking by it. And if you don't achieve it that week, well, then it needs to be written down for the following week, so that way you remember to achieve that. Um, for your small goals, for those small tasks. For anything major, I think it's vision boards, apps. There's tons of resources out there nowadays, or books, journals that you can utilize to develop your goal and create your strategy plan. Tons of worksheets out there. So I think it's just really up to the individual person and what works best for them.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
just whatever roadmap that you need to utilize. But if you don't have it written down, you're already setting yourself up for failure, because then out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah,
If
I,
you need
I
to stick
love
sticky
that.
notes everywhere to remind you.
I
whatever
love this.
works.
I love the sticky notes. Put sticky notes every single place to keep reminded. But
Hmm.
I also love how you tapped in on a vision board because if you know me, and I know you know me like that, I love
Yeah.
vision boards. And I think however you design them, and it's true, is what works for you and what's going to design, but keeping you reminded that this is what you're trying to obtain. And those are some really great nuggets that you share, Travis, with that and in the journey process in itself. But with your journey, we
Hmm.
also go through our setbacks. Have you gone through a setback to where you're like, okay, I don't know if I'm going to get to that next level, or how did you overcome that challenge that may can help someone else out there as a listener?
So this is it plays on faith a little bit too.
Yeah.
Anytime I was always on a every 2 years. So from leasing to senior leasing, 2 years. From leasing to assistant, 2 years. So I was on this kick. And if there was an opportunity, I was going to go for it. I was going to do everything that I could to become an assistant manager or whatever the case may be. So that went up on the job board. I went ahead and applied for it, and then I didn't get it. So it's one of those things where you're like, well, why not me? I know everything that I'm doing. This person's either been here longer, less time, I'm smarter than whatever the case may be. You can find in tons of reasons why you deserved it more than somebody else. But I think it's understanding that there is a grand scheme of things. And once you get to the opportunity for where you're supposed to go, you're like, you know what? Like, I'm going to take it to me becoming an assistant manager. I applied for a couple of different positions, didn't get them. I'm glad because then I found out that both of them had those properties were nightmares. So I got to the property that I was at, and that's whenever I met two of my mentors, and that's where I got introduced to Bradley. I knew of him and we were friends because he was my partner's manager and everything. But that's whenever I really plugged in and learned so much from him. So I'm glad that I didn't get that opportunity because it wasn't the opportunity for me and for what I needed. So it's
Yeah.
understanding that just because it's not at that time, it could be that it's not the right time, it's not the right opportunity, that the next thing is what is meant for you. So taking
Wow.
yourself out of that, and again, that plays to your ego is, I think I
Hmm.
deserve this, but it's not about you deserving it. It's do you need it at that time? You might not be mature enough. There might be other things that you need to go through or other things that you need to learn, people that you need to meet that are really going to help you be successful. And you just have to wait. And that's
Hmm.
all that's achieving goals. You have your, I'm going to do this in 1 year. It doesn't always happen, but it's probably for a reason.
Wow, wow. See, this is why I have Travis in my corner because he can throw some nuggets out there. And I'm sitting here just taking it in. Check, 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 check. I love it. I feel like you're preaching to me. But I think you added a lot of great things within that with making some good points as far as, give yourself time, right? Don't think you can accomplish everything
Hmm.
within such a short amount of time. But also make sure you have faith of whatever you're working towards or going through to be guided by that. Because that's what pretty much is your why factor, right? If you keep going and keep being
Hmm.
pushed and persevering through that. But I love where you talked about how, meeting Bradley was, that connection that was really good as far as, helping you pivot that way, which kind of goes into, building that meaningful connections. And why is that so important, Travis? Why do you think building and networking is really helpful for anyone that is trying to establish their career journey?
One, you get experience. Everybody has different experiences to share. So
Mhm.
you can learn from somebody who's been doing something for 5 minutes or somebody's been doing it for 5 or 50 years. Everybody has something to offer. And the fact that you say meaningful connections, you can make all the connections that you want. One, they're not always good for you. They may bring you down, but two, they might not always offer what you need. So I'm going to keep mentioning Bradley. So you're going to have him
Yeah.
on your podcast next time.
Okay,
So
shout
I'll let
out
him
to
know I
Bradley.
voluntold him. So I've always had great managers who were great fluffers. So they're like, you're doing great things. You're going above and beyond. You're great. You're wonderful. Here's a sticker. Here's a raise. Here's a bonus. Here's a cake, whatever. And that's fine. That's fantastic. You need that. But you also need that person to step back and say, you know what? You're great, but, and be real with you and tell you where you have room to grow. And he was that person for me because beforehand, I'm like, I can take a critique. You're not going to make me cry. But you're not going to grow also if you only surround yourselves with people who build you up. I'm not saying you need somebody to break you down, but you need somebody to keep it real. And if you don't
No.
have that, you're not going to grow. You also need that accountability buddy, basically, that's going to hold you accountable. That's going to help you work towards your things. You can share what you're trying to achieve, and they're going to help you along the way with both the positive and the negative, and they're going to help you get through that.
Yeah, I love
And
that.
then
I
plus,
would
just in our industry, networking is important. Period.
It is very important. I love that you mentioned that fact of, having those accountability people, but it's important because I think on one hand, you should have certain type of people that do certain things for you, right?
Mhm.
Whether that's going to hold you accountable, that's going to be that person that's going to be that cheerleader, or that person that's going to help develop and take you outside of your comfort zone, or, and those are your advisors, those are your peers, those are your coaches, those are your mentors. And you don't always want someone that's going to be like, kudos, you did a great job. Kudos. Yes, those are great when you need them,
Right.
but you also need that person that's going to say, all right, now, Travis or Lissi, we need to kind of work through this. And we need to kind of,
Yeah.
think a little bit further. So I like that how you
Right.
mentioned that. And, I definitely, we're getting Bradley on this podcast. He just don't know yet. But you can see how those meaningful connections has helped you and continuously help you
Hmm.
pave the way to be a better version of yourself, but also just to have that growth mindset. And I think you mentioned it earlier about reading different books and podcasting and articles out there. So what inspires you? What is one thing that you're like, this person or this quote or this book or podcast, whatever it is, or what inspires you or who inspires you to be better for yourself?
So as far as daily inspiration, I think it's good. You're on Instagram or Facebook or what? I guess nobody uses Facebook as much. We're older, so we use Facebook still.
Yeah.
But for the kids out there, Instagram or whatever they're using right now, it's you follow all these things about what's pretty or what's cool or trending. You need motivation. So I think it's wonderful
Hmm.
whenever you follow pages that'll have motivational quotes or inspirational quotes, whether it's religious or just pure motivation or things that give you micro learning opportunities. I think that's
Hmm.
huge. Where you're just scrolling and I'm like, okay, well that's a pretty flower and cute dog. Oh, here's a great quote that's really inspiring. That's whenever I send them to you, and
Yes, you do.
it's like the motivation that you didn't know that you needed right then. And a lot of times you're going to hear
Yes.
something and it's like clicks and you're like, wow, that's random. Like I needed to hear that, but here it is. And books are great. And now they're on audiobooks. You don't even have to read anymore. You can just listen to it while you work out or drive to work. Just be careful, whenever you're driving, because some people have too smoothing of a voice and you're going to nod off. But just whatever really motivates you, whether it's church, people, books, podcasts, you need something outside of yourself.
Wow.
Um, TV. But for me, it's the people that I'm around and just seeing like yourself, for instance, like you're doing such great things and you are one of the most positive people that I know. Despite whatever you're going through, you hold it down. So you're an inspiration to me in your way, and all my friends
Oh,
inspire me in some way.
can I just say heart that? I just love that. I appreciate it. I'm so, but it's the truth. And it's funny how you say your social media, no matter what it is a message, it's a post, it's something or a video that kind of
Hmm.
captures you that makes you feel like, okay, this is hitting me in that moment, whether that is for your personal development or career development. And you're right on track or spot on it when you say you send them to me. I'll be like, man, how does he know? That's why I said earlier, you're my peanut butter to my jam. Because when you have someone that you work closely with and you have that friendship with, or mentor, coach, or peer out there in your career journey, those are the ones that are going to help you grow. And so, at the same time as I'm hearing you say you inspire me as well, Travis, because I think you have so much that I've seen and worked through and gone through that I don't think people realize that the little things that touch you and the things that people are always
Hmm.
there. And those are your support. That's your network. And those are those meaningful connections that you build that continuously keeps you striving, right? No matter who they are in your life. And it's even the quiet ones, even the ones that you don't say anything. Those are the ones that are there for, right? At the end of the day, which I absolutely love. But I think, like you had said, as far as podcasts or books, those are also great things when it comes to defining a new skill set, right? And in your
Mhm.
experience, we should always be growing. We should always be learning something new and really taking on those challenges because they make us become better, right?
Yeah, you need to. I think as we were talking about rewinding it back to where I was talking about ego and it keeping you
Yeah.
back, one book that I was reading was really talking about what holds you back and becoming your authentic self.
Hmm.
And it talks about that switch that flips whenever you're a kid. You remember being a kid and they ask you what you want to be when you grow up, and it's astronaut, the president, scientist, astronaut, beauty pageant queen, like whatever. You dream big, and nobody's going to tell you no because you're a kid, and you
Yeah.
don't mind going out and dancing or just singing to yourself. All these things that you do because there's nobody that's telling you wrong, and you're not looking at the world in a way where you're observing it and comparing yourself to it. And then somewhere
Hmm.
along the way, you realize, oh, I got to bring it back. That's not the way the world works. And it sucks. And that's what really holds you back. You lose that sense of wonder and you lose that authenticity that you had when you were a child. And that's kind of what people need to work on, and getting that back is saying, yes, I can do it. Um, the conference that we had this past year, we had a great speaker who actually talked about imagining a goal and what you would want to do for your property or for whatever, and make it as outlandish as possible, and then slowly bring it back to what you can actually achieve. And I love that. I think you
Hmm.
need to shoot far and then reel it back and really
Yeah.
define what the spirit of your goal is.
Yeah. Ah,
So I
man,
think that, yeah, read books, read
you're
books, go to conferences.
yes. You're taking it there. It's all of that. And another thing that I know is just be networking, right? And how is networking in your local
Mhm.
associations so important?
Well, if you're not a member of AAGD, contact me. Going to events to, I think a lot of people, you come to classes, and one of my main
Hmm.
things is I make everybody stand up and greet the people around them, because those connections mean a lot. And it doesn't mean that you're networking in terms of what can you do for me, like, oh well, I need a new job, I don't like my boss anymore, I remember you were cool and you liked your boss, what's up, do you have a position open? It's not about that. It's about making those connections of people that you can lean on, and you can start to lean on one another whenever a question comes up and you don't have the experience for that. Or like myself, I only ever worked for one management company. So I always find it interesting whenever I'm in classes and I hear perspectives from other management companies or people with different experiences, because you're going to learn from them. It's not obviously fair housing, things like that with legal things. It is what it is, but ways of approaching situations and problems, you need to learn from other people. No man is an island, that whole saying. Uh, that's why networking is important, both with your peers within your role. Outside of your role, you may learn that, hey, you know what? I didn't realize that I could get into their social media stuff for marketing just specifically for properties. I love social media. I love posting. Now you kind of found out that your goal can expand and you can be a little bit more tailored to you. It doesn't always just have to be the next role. Even on the supplier side, there's plenty of people that go from management side to supplier, or vice versa. Um, you never know till you're exposed to it. Also, you just make great connections and make wonderful friends through it. Uh,
Yeah.
and you learn a lot, whether it's from the content and the speaker, or from one another. So networking is very important to your job and your success. Um,
Yes, it
Hope that answered
is.
that and a lot more.
No, you did. You hit it right on the nail. I think it's so important, all about the networking. Plus, also when you are involved in your local associations, it gives you opportunity to make those connections, to, broaden your skill set, to, level up in different areas of your career that you didn't even realize you wanted to be. I mean, I can go back and tell stories of how when I first came and joined the association, to saying I want to teach and didn't even think it's going to be to this level. So when I say you can do a
Yeah.
lot and you can gain from that and grow with it, I think it's amazing. And just really tap in, like, tap into Travis with your local association at
Mhm.
Dallas, at AAGD, and really see what they have and what it's all about. And which is inspiring in itself too. So Travis, as we continue to navigate through this journey of your success and your vision, do you have any Oh, before I go into lasting words, what do you do outside for fun? I know it's not all about work. We got to have some fun too.
Oh, no, I only work. No. Whatever my dog wants to do, he controls the house. Um, a lot of
I love it.
I sadly watch a lot of TV. It's sad and it's terrible, but I do watch a lot of TV, and that sounds like everybody's answer, but I honestly do watch way too much. Need to get outside more. But TV and shopping and just hanging out with friends,
Hey, why not?
whether it's a happy hour, whether it's happy hour, dinner, or both. Um, that, that's really it. I'm not doing anything crazy. Keeping it like
There's
close little knit.
there's nothing wrong with that. When it's you sometimes got to take that breather and really be around your family and friends. And I know that's just as
Hmm.
important because those are just those connections as well. And don't worry, shoot, we all watch a lot of TV. At least you're not watching a lot of those reality shows. I think that's where I get my drama if I'm so
Oh,
positive
absolutely
all
no.
the time. Keeping
No,
those
those
little
frustrate me more
documentaries.
than anything.
Yes.
Like you
Well,
watch
this
reality TV and you're like, how can people be like this?
You do. You kind of sit back, or you like, let me think. I don't know. I tell you, we can probably
Yeah.
talk and conversate for hours on after hours, but it's always a joy to be able to catch up with a good friend, talk shop, talk about what's going on in the world as far as just really helping inspire someone out there. And I think this is what this is what it's all about: is hearing inspiring stories, and hopefully you gain some nuggets. I call them positive nuggets from Travis because he was shooting
Hmm.
them left and right to you. So, Travis, any last final words that you would give someone new coming into the industry, or just someone to have, that belief in themselves that they can do what they can do?
I think, and you touched on it as far as sharing your story is it's important. And within those networking spheres, especially if you get into the association world and start volunteering, share your story, listen to other people's story, and don't just share the good stuff. Because
Hmm.
again, kudos. It's great. I want to hear your triumphs, but let me know where you hurt, like your missteps or anything. That's where you really learn, and that's where people really connect with you. Is like, I went through the same thing. So what did you do to overcome that? No matter what the case may be. So just don't afraid to be vulnerable. Don't afraid to be share, and don't be afraid to raise your hand. Because by raising your hand, that's what's going to get you to the next level.
Yeah,
That's how I am where I am now is because I raised my hand and wasn't afraid. If you want to teach, let people know and we'll work with you on it. So whatever you want to do, just don't be afraid to ask. You're never going to
yeah.
get there if you never ask.
I think that's such a great
And
lasting
sign up for
word.
classes. There you go.
There you go. You know what? Don't forget
There's
to
my
ask.
plug.
There's your plug. Don't forget to ask. I think that's so important and so enlightening. But at the same time, you guys, whatever it is that you're trying to grow and build in, just believe in yourself. And Travis hit it all on the nail today on this episode. And if you want to be connected more with Travis Allen, you definitely can reach him at AAGD, and really connect with him and see where he can plug you in and network within the association and classes, or also becoming a member. He is always there to help as well. I have enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much, Travis, for
Yeah.
joining me today. This has been truly, truly a great conversation. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode as well on Thriving in Multifamily, a visionary podcast. I am your host, Lissi Daniels, brought to you by Multifamily Media Network. And all I want you guys to do out there is stay visionary. Talk to you guys soon. Bye now.
All right. Thanks. Bye.